How to be prepared for the 21st century. Number one, I would suggest you have multiple skills. Learn more than one skill to be prepared for the next century. We've watched people, right, with only one skill the last 15 years. The company got downsized, their division got chopped, right? The guy lost his job and he's now vulnerable because he only had one skill. So this would be a bit of wise advice. Take some extra classes and get prepared for the next century by being multi-talented and having more than one skill. I started developing multiple skills at age 25. They made me a millionaire by age 31, 6 years later. Part of it was investments and part of it was good luck. But I really revolutionized my whole financial program by learning more than one skill. If a guy that just works on the line for the last 15 years, if he would have taken accounting or something 2 nights a week, for the last 2-3 years, he'd have something to fall back on, something extra. But anyway, that's good advice. More than one skill for the 21st century. Here's number two. Wouldn't hurt to learn more than one language. Multiple languages now are pay off so big. Some of my business colleagues around the world that speak 3 or 4 languages, they make $3 or $4 million a year instead of 300,000 or 400,000. Those extra languages serve them so well. It's incredible. One of my Israeli friends speaks 6 languages. Michael has command of 6 languages. Now he's learning number 7. It is so much fun to travel around the world with him because he can talk to everybody. He orders all the food and it doesn't matter what country you're in. He talks to everybody and makes all the arrangements. It is such a luxury. It is such a powerful thing to have the command of all these extra languages. My father spoke German when I was growing up, but he never taught me. I could have learned German easy, but they were trying to get away from the old world languages when I was growing up, right? My mother spoke French. She's English, but she spoke French. But she never taught me the French, and I could have learned 3 languages in the same time I learned one if it would have struck them that maybe these extra languages would be so valuable. But back then they said, leave the old world behind, the old languages. This is America now. We all speak English. But what an advantage for me that would have been if I would have had those extra 2 languages. So that's part of my advice. Multiple skills, multiple languages. I asked a school teacher one time, how many languages can a child learn? Here's what she said: as many as you will teach them. They don't lack the capacity. They don't lack the intelligence. They certainly don't lack the curiosity. All they lack is a teacher. So remember that too with your children. Encourage them to learn that second, third language. Because the world is getting smaller and smaller. It's unbelievable. I fly around the world now so easy. 14 hours later from Los Angeles, I'm in Tokyo. Someone asked me, was it a tough trip? I said, no, 5 meals, 3 movies, and you're there, right? How easy can it possibly be? The new century, let me give you my opinion of the next century. The next millennium. A new century, a new decade, 10 years, a new century, 100 years, and a new millennium, 1,000 years. We've had 6 millenniums of written history. We're about to enter the 7th. Some scholars hold great significance to this 7th millennium, that it's going to be a unique and dramatic time, and that's probably true. Technology, transportation, communication, it's unbelievable what's happened up until now, especially the last 100 years, especially the last 50 years. So here's what we started in the late part of this century, and it's a good note to make. What we hope is advanced civilization. The beginning of civilization says, let us learn to restrain the dark side of our nature, which everybody has. Who was it said, power corrupts, right? And absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. So to become a civilized society, here's what we must do. Start early. You have to start with your own children to develop a civilized society. If a 3-year-old hits another 3-year-old over the head, if he's not restrained to become civilized, he will do it again. And if he's not further restrained, he may enjoy it. Now we have the beginning of a major uncivilized problem. So here's what civilization is: the restraint of power in its beginning form. And we must start with our own children to civilize our own. We say, well, our children live in a civilized society. Yes, but when they're born, soon after, not too long after, they must be restrained. They must be taught what we call civilized behavior. Now, that goes right on up the line. The misuse of power is everywhere. A father may misuse his power and force his children to live in his shadow instead of in the sunlight of opportunity. It is called the misuse of power. And it doesn't matter whether it's a father or a 3-year-old child. We must all be taught that to live in a civilized society and bless the next generation and the next generation, we must be taught civilized behavior, because only can we flourish and grow in a civilized situation. It's very important. However, that is a human being's 2 major objectives. And you might make these notes. 1 is to survive. First, we must learn to survive. Second, then we learn to succeed, which is beyond survival. But most people settle in just in sort of the survival mode, enough get by. They've got all these resources to tap, and they don't tap them because, they're getting by. Their kids aren't starving. They got a roof over their head and some clothes to wear and food to eat. But to go way beyond that, to flourish, not just to survive, but to flourish. Now, the idea part is fairly basic and upfront, right? We're going to talk about time management ideas. We're going to talk about leadership ideas. We're going to talk about good health ideas. We're going to talk about all kinds of ideas. And they're fairly easy to put forward. Here's what's a little more tricky: inspiration. Who knows why one's inspired and one is not inspired? Here's what I call it. It's a good thing to remember for the rest of your life. It's called the mysteries of the mind. And you'll be confronted with that forever, the mysteries. Here's what we have to do with most mysteries: leave them mysteries. And learn to be curious instead of dismayed. Say, why is it this way? Say, I don't know. You get your own planet, you could rearrange it some other way. On this planet, we seem to be guests. So you figure out how this one works, whoever set it up, right? You follow how it's been set up. Then if you get a chance for a planet, then you can rearrange the whole deal and say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So if you ever get that chance, you can do that. But hey, on this one, it was prearranged before we dropped in here. But on the spinning planet headed somewhere, right, what is the deal, right? And part of it is a mystery. One of the mysteries: where did we come from? Where are we going? Some of those are a bit unfathomable. We try our best to understand. One writer said, what? We see through the dark glass. We think we've just about got it figured out, but it's a little hazy. It's a little dark. We can't see it quite as clear. But all of our lifetime, we keep searching for ways to see it better, see it better. Someday, hopefully, it'll all be clear. But some things are mysteries. I do a seminar like this. Someone walks out and says, I'm going to change my life. Someone else walks out and says, oh, I've heard all this stuff before. Why 2 different reactions to the same seminar? Just make the note. It's a mystery. And I haven't tried to solve that. So I'm going to make everybody walk out and say, I'm going to change my life. See, no, you can't do that. It's going to be however it's going to be. And the key is to be curious and not dismayed. Let the mysteries be mysteries. Key phrase, results, is the name of the game. I do another seminar called The 5 Major Pieces. It's also the title of a book, but here's those pieces. 1 is philosophy. We're affected by what we know. Next is attitude. We're affected by how we feel. 3rd is activity, or disciplines, or work. Labor, it's called. We're affected by what we do. And number 4 is results. Learn to measure and count to see how you're doing. Making progress is the name of the game. And here's how I describe it. Measurable progress in reasonable time. That's what we ask of our kids. That's what we ask of everybody. Make measurable progress in reasonable time. But results is the name of the game. We don't study philosophy just for philosophy, or attitude just for attitude, or discipline just for discipline. These things by themselves serve no purpose. But these three items invested in labor, in the work, produces results. Now we measure our results to see how our disciplines are working, how our attitude is working, and how our philosophy is working. And if the results aren't to your liking, there's only three places to check: discipline, attitude, philosophy, personal philosophy. It's a pretty simple process. Some people check interest rates. Well, but, that's not where the real problem probably is. Check what you know. You may need more knowledge. Check how you feel. You may need to adjust your attitude. And check your disciplines, and you may need to add a couple to the ones you're already engaged in. And that'll start immediately to changing the results that you can measure, that you can count. And you might add one more word here: weigh. Okay, weigh and count and measure. Because the game is productivity, progress and productivity. Then something we're going to talk about, which was number 5, which is lifestyle. Because here's the ultimate expression of life, and that's to live a good life. Living well is the ultimate expression, not philosophy, not attitude, but living well. Here's the next one: be eager to learn. I know all of you already know a lot, but be eager to learn the rest. I've learned a lot in my years, but I'm eager to learn the rest. Now I'm trying to capsulize my learning. I'm trying to accelerate my learning, right? Because I don't have a couple hundred years left. So I've got to accelerate my learning curve, especially in the next 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years. And I'm asking you to do the same. An accelerated learning curve to maximize the time to learn as much now in 1 year as you used to learn over 5 years. Just accelerate the curve. Eager to learn. No matter how much you know, you can always learn a bit more, improve your life, sometimes to a startling degree. Some of the great fortunes of the world were made, what? After someone turned 50, 60. Because now they've got all this experience. Now when an idea comes, they invest 50 years, they invest 60 years in this idea, and it explodes into fortune. So as maturity comes along, what a great time now to come up with good ideas, because now you can maximize their possibilities because of your maturity and what you already know. So be eager to grasp that next idea, because it could explode your health, explode your life. It could start a whole new realm of future for you at dimensions you never even thought of, the next idea, the next couple of ideas. So be eager to learn, no matter how rich you are, how healthy you are, where you are. Okay. We in the Millionaires Club invite a billionaire once in a while to come talk to us. And he says, well, you guys are doing okay, but, come on. So no matter where you are, be eager for that next idea. Some of you have been teaching like I have for years and years and years, but be ready for the next idea, because it could explode now, your teaching career. It could add new dimensions because of where you are and because of your age and because of your maturity and because of whatever. The next effort you make to get something, no telling what that may add in terms of multiplication in your life and your ability to affect the lives of other people. Amazing. Right? Be a student, not a follower. This is important advice. Not to be followers, but to be students. Be no one's disciple except the Lord's. You wind up in Waco, Texas. Be no one's disciple. But be a student. Someone says, well, these 2 books now have opposing views about health. Here's what you should do. Answer: read both books and make up your own mind. Read both books and see if you can't figure out some way so that it applies to you, maybe drawing from both presentations. Not to follow one or the other, but to draw from one or the other, or maybe both, and develop a plan for you. Here's some of the best advice I've got for you. Make sure what you finally do is the product of your own conclusion. Make sure what you finally do in your financial pursuit, in your health pursuit, in building a good family pursuit, in developing your spirituality. Make sure what you finally do in pursuit of that is the product of your own conclusion, meaning you've processed differing points of view, you've processed what you've learned matched with what someone is teaching you. Here's what's important. No one voice has all the answers. I certainly don't. I only have my point of view. I only have my perception. But my perception may be valuable. What if I say to you, did you ever look at this from over here? And you say no. So you walk over here where I am and you take a look and you say, wow, I never saw it from over here before. And maybe that look, from my point of view, is an interesting perception. It may reveal something that from over there, looking at it, you missed it. You missed my point of view. Not that my point of view is the point of view, but it is a point of view. Right? There's a difference between a point of view and the point of view. You know, I got into sales. One of my first skills, besides I could milk cows, right, when I grew up in farm country in Idaho. But it didn't pay very well. Here's the first skill that revolutionized my life: sales. Learning to present a product and service to the marketplace. I multiplied my income by 5 first year. Multiple skills. So now I got 2 skills: milking cows and making sales. But the skill revolutionized my life. I had never seen that perspective before, of how I could so dynamically affect my income by learning this extra skill. Amazing. So be eager to learn, argue later, but debate, right? Is it for me or isn't it for me? Do I have the temperament? You know, what is the deal? Should I start now and learn, or should I postpone it? What should I do? All of this stuff is very good. Turn it over in your mind till finally you decide. Okay. Next, become a good listener. It is difficult. We live in such a busy time. It's going to be a little difficult to shut everything out for 2 days and just concentrate here. Because our life's out there, right? Our family's out there, and our friends are out there, and our business is out there, and things are going on out there. Things are happening out there, right? And sometimes out there, we get sort of distracted thinking a lot about what's out there. But if you can, to the best of your ability, zero in here, give you the best of your attention that you possibly can.